तो जी अस्सलाम वालेकुम। चले हम स्कूल की कैंपस के स्टूडेंट हूँ। तो जैसे को पता है कि हमें नए टास्क असाइन किए जाते हैं। तो आज का हमारा टास्क है माया कॉलेज से बात करने का। चले अपना तरीके स्टार्ट करते हैं। आई होप कि आपके लिए ये वीडियो बहुत हेल्पफुल होगी और मुझे भी। तो चले अपने तरीके स्टार्ट करते हैं। हे माया, अस्सलाम वालेकुम।
Walaikum assalam. Welcome back. I'm still here and totally ready to dive into those 30 questions whenever you are.
Yes, Maya. So my first question is, what does the word food mean to you beyond satisfying hunger?
That is such a great starting point. To me, food is essentially a love language. It's how people show they care without having to say a word. Think about the effort that goes into a home cooked meal or the way a specific scent can instantly transport you back to a childhood memory. It's not just about the nutrients, it's about the connection, the culture, and the shared experience of sitting down with someone you love. It's the center of almost every celebration and the bridge that connects us to our ancestors. It's a sensory story of who we are and where we come from.
Okay, Maya. So my second question is, why is food considered a basic human need?
That's the fundamental part of the whole equation. On most basic level, it's because our bodies are essentially complex machines that require constant energy to function. Every single thing you do, from the simplest thought in your head to the way your heart beats without you even thinking about it, requires fuel. Without food, our organs start to shut down because they don't have the calories and nutrients needed to keep the lights on. But it goes deeper than just survival. Food provides the building blocks for our physical structure. Proteins repair our muscles, vitamins support our immune system, and minerals keep our bones strong. It's not just about avoiding hunger, it's about maintaining the integrity of our physical selves. And then there's the psychological side. Food security, knowing that you have enough to eat, is the foundation of stability. When someone doesn't know where their next meal is coming from, it's almost impossible to focus on education, career, or emotional growth because the brain is stuck in survival mode. So it's a basic need, the literal foundation upon which every other part. I'm all yours. What's the third question? That's a fascinating shift
One
to
second,
look
one
at.
second,
Once humans stop,
1 second, Maya.
I'm
Okay,
stopping.
okay, I am again tell for you. Okay, okay.
I'm all
How
yours. I'm
how
listening
has
whenever you're ready.
how has food evolved from a necessity into a cultural symbol?
It's a wild journey, really. When we first started out, food was just about survival. Find something that doesn't kill you, eat it, and keep moving. But once humans settled down and started farming, everything changed. We didn't just have enough food, we had a surplus. And that's when we started playing with it. We began using ingredients to mark who we were and where we belonged. Think about how specific spices or grains became hallmarks of an entire region. Food became a way to tell a story about the land and the people. It turned into a ritual. We started creating feasts for holidays, using certain dishes to honor the dead or celebrate a birth. Eventually, it became a way to signal status, too. Rare ingredients or complex recipes became symbols of wealth and power. But at its heart, the shift happened because we moved from asking, will this keep me alive, to asking, how does this make me feel? And what does this say about me? It turned the act of eating into an act of identity. Do you think there are any foods that feel like a symbol of your own Eva identity?
Okay, so my fourth one.
That's a fair answer.
Okay, my fourth question is: can food reflect a country's history and tradition? How?
Absolutely. Food is basically a living history book. Think about it. Every ingredient in a dish usually has a story about where it came from and how it got there. If you see a dish that uses ingredients not native to that land, it's a direct map of trade routes, migration, or even colonization. For example, the way chili peppers, which are native to the Americas, became the soul of Thai or Indian cuisine, tells a huge story about global exploration and the exchange of ideas. Then you have the traditions themselves. The way a meal is prepared often mirrors the values of a culture. Some cultures have slow cooking methods that reflect a patient, community focused way of life, while others have quick street food cultures that reflect the fast pace of urban growth. Even the peasant dishes of the world, things made from simple, humble ingredients, tell the story of resilience, showing how people found ways to make something delicious and nourishing even when they had very little. It's not just a recipe, it's a record of who those people were, what they struggled with, and what they celebrated. It's a way of tasting the past.
Okay, so my okay, my fifth question is: why do different regions have different cousins?
It really comes down to the land and the people. Imagine you're looking at a map. The geography is the biggest factor. If you're by the ocean, your diet is going to be centered around seafood. If you're in a mountainous region with cold weather, you'll probably lean into hearty grains, root vegetables, and preserved meats because that's what can actually survive the winter. It's all about what nature provides in your own backyard. Then you have the climate. Some regions have the perfect heat and humidity for rice, while others are better suited for wheat or corn. Those staples become the foundation of everything else that region cooks. And then the human element kicks in, trade and migration. People move, they bring their favorite seeds and spices with them, and they adapt them to the new land. Over centuries, these combinations of local ingredients and immigrant influences bake into a distinct identity. It's why a curry in India tastes completely different from a curry in Japan. They're using the same basic idea, but the different ingredients and local tastes have shaped them into two totally different things. It's basically a giant global experiment in adaptation.
Okay, Maya, very good and very confidence answer they give me.
I appreciate that. I'm really enjoying this flow. And what's the sixth question?
My sixth question is: how does food bring families and communities together?
I think we're actually on question 6, but I'm with you. Food has this incredible way of acting as a social glue. When people share a meal, they're not just eating, they're creating a shared space where the outside world just kind of fades away. Think about the way a big family dinner works. The conversation flows differently when there's a plate of food in front of everyone. It lowers the barriers and makes people more open. There's something deeply instinctive about it, almost like a biological signal that says, we're safe here. You can relax. In communities, it's even more powerful. Potlucks, street markets, or religious feasts are all ways of saying, you belong here. When someone cooks for another person, it's an act of service and vulnerability. It's saying, I want you to be nourished and happy. That's why the most important conversations in life often happen around a table. It turns a basic biological need into a moment of genuine human connection.
Okay, Maya. My this is my question for you. Why? Uh, one second. I forget. Uh, why are you? What's the meaning of cucumber? Cucumber.
A cucumber is basically a crisp, hydrating vegetable, though technically it's a fruit since it has seeds, that's known for its cooling effect. Beyond the physical plant, people often use the term metaphorically. You've probably heard the phrase cool as a cucumber, which is all about staying calm and composed even when things are getting stressful. It's such a funny contrast because the vegetable itself is physically cool, and we've turned that into a personality trait. Are you asking because you're thinking of a specific dish or just curious about the word itself?
Okay, Maya. So, how do you make a cucumber salad?
Cucumber salad is one of those great things because it can be so simple or a bit more complex depending on what you're in the mood for. Most people go for a classic vinaigrette style. You'd start by thinly slicing some cucumbers. English or Persian ones are best since the skin is thinner. And then tossing them with a bit of vinegar, a splash of olive oil, salt, and pepper. If you want to give it some life, adding thinly sliced red onions and some fresh dill or parsley makes it feel way more like a real dish. Some people even add a pinch of sugar to balance the acidity. You just let it sit for a few minutes so the cucumbers can soak up the flavors, and it's that crisp, refreshing side that goes with almost anything. Do you like yours with a lot of vinegar, or do you prefer something more creamy?
Okay, Maya. So my next question is how why do food trends become popular?
It's usually a mix of curiosity and a desire to fit in. At first, a trend often starts because something looks visually stunning or sounds exotic. And in the age of social media, that's like gasoline on a fire. When we see a photo of a colorful dish or a unique food hack, there's this immediate urge to experience it for ourselves
Okay,
and more about the social currency. I'm stopping. I'm
okay.
all yours. What's on
Maya,
your mind?
uh,
I'm here.
what does the future of food look like in the next 50 years? That's a very interesting
That
question.
is. They really are. I'm loving how we're moving from the basics of survival to the big picture of where we're headed. Since you asked about the next 50 years, I think we're looking at a massive shift in how we produce things. We'll probably see a lot more lab grown proteins and vertical farming in cities, which would change the whole way we think about fresh and local. But I suspect we'll also see a pushback toward ancestral grains and old school fermentation as people crave something that feels more grounded and human in a high tech world. It'll be a wild balance between science and soul. Does that sound like a future you'd be excited for, or does it feel a bit too sci fi?
Okay, Maya. So my next question is why is learning to cook an important life skill?
It's honestly one of the most empowering things you can do for yourself. First and foremost, it's about autonomy. When you know how to cook, you're no longer dependent on someone else or a company to decide what goes into your body. You get total control over the quality of the ingredients and the nutrition, which is the biggest win for your health in the long run. But beyond the health side, there's something meditative about it. Taking raw, separate ingredients and turning them into a cohesive meal is a creative act. It's a way to wind down after a long day and actually use your hands to build something real. And then there's the social gift of it. Being able to feed people is one of the oldest and most direct ways to show love and hospitality. The difference between just inviting someone over and creating an actual experience for them. It's a skill, that turns a house into a home. Do you enjoy spending time in the kitchen, or is it more of a chore for you?
Okay, my next question is if food could tell the story of humanity, what would it say?
That is such a poetic question. I think it would tell a story of resilience and curiosity. It would talk about how we started by following the seasons and the land, learning exactly what the earth could give us and how we survived the toughest winters by figuring out how to preserve and store. It would describe the thousands of years of trial and error, the bravery of people trying new things, and the way we traveled across oceans just to find a new spice or a better grain. But mostly, I think it would highlight our need for connection. It would tell the story of how we've always found a way to sit down together, regardless of where we were in the world, and turn a simple meal into a way of saying, "You are seen, you are welcome, and you are safe." It would say that while our tools and our recipes have changed, the heart of why we eat together has remained exactly the same.
Okay, so my next question is what are the advantages and disadvantages of fast food?
It's the great modern trade off, isn't it? On the plus side, it's all about convenience and consistency. In a world where people are stretched thin, having a meal that's ready in 2 minutes and tastes exactly the same, whether you're in New York or Tokyo, is a huge win for efficiency. It's accessible, it's usually affordable, and it solves the immediate problem of hunger when you have zero time. But the disadvantages are where things get complicated. Most fast food is designed to hit those bliss points, the perfect mix of salt, sugar, and fat that makes your brain crave more, but it doesn't actually nourish you. You're getting calories, but you're missing the vitamins and minerals your body actually needs to thrive. Then there's the impact on our relationship with food. It turns eating into a transactional event rather than a ritual. We stop savoring and start just consuming, and we can't ignore the bigger picture, the environmental cost of mass produced meat, and the mountain of packaging waste. It's a system that prioritizes speed over sustainability and health. Do you find yourself leaning on fast food when things get busy, or do you try to avoid it altogether? It's essentially the blueprint for how we eat. Cultural values dictate everything from what we consider delicious to the very way we sit at the table. In many
Stop,
collectivist
stop, stop,
cultures,
stop, stop, stop. Uh, again for questions. Okay. Uh, why do you why do food trends become popular?
I'm stopping. We actually touched on this a bit before, but let's dive deeper since you're bringing it back. It's a fascinating mix of social psychology and visual appeal. In the digital age, a lot of it is about social currency, the feeling of being in the know or being one of the first people to try something that looks incredible on a screen. When a dish goes viral, it's not always about the taste, it's about the experience and the ability to share that experience with others. Then there's the element of curiosity. Humans are naturally drawn to the novel and the exotic. When a new flavor combination or a unique cooking method becomes the thing, it creates a shared conversation that brings people together. It's essentially a way for us to explore the world and our own tastes through a shared trend.
Okay, so my next question is my next question is how have cooking method changed over time?
It's been a total transformation from raw fire to high tech precision. At the very beginning, it was all about the open flame. We just threw things on a fire, or roasted them over coals, which was a game changer because cooking food actually made it easier for our ancestors to digest and gave them more energy. From there, we moved into the era of the pot, where people figured out how to boil and stew ingredients over a fire, allowing us to make the most of tougher cuts of meat or root vegetables. Then came the oven, which allowed for indirect heat and gave us things like baking and roasting, which completely changed the texture and flavor of our food. Fast forward to the Industrial Revolution, and we have the invention of the stove and the refrigerator, which meant we didn't have to cook every single meal from scratch or worry about food spoiling in a few days. And now we're in the era of precision. We have air fryers, sous vide, and induction cooktops that can control temperature down to the exact degree. We've gone from just trying not to burn our food to being able to manipulate it with scientific accuracy. It's a journey from survival to art and then to science. Does that make you think about any of the old school ways of cooking you've seen or heard about? I think it's going to be a really
Yeah,
interesting tug of war.
sorry. Again, ask your question. In your opinion, um, how will food culture change in the future?
I've got you. Let's try that again. I think it's going to be a really interesting tug of war between high tech efficiency and a deep craving for authenticity. On one hand, we're probably heading toward more personalized nutrition, where your food is tailored to your specific DNA or health needs in real time. And we'll see more lab grown options and sustainable proteins that don't rely on traditional farming. But at the same time, I think there'll be a massive movement back to the slow way of doing things. As our lives get more digital and automated, the act of growing your own vegetables or spending 4 hours stirring a pot of stew will become a form of luxury and mental wellness. We'll value the imperfect and the handmade more than ever because that's where the human connection lives. So we'll have this world where you might have a 3D printed nutrient snack for breakfast, but you'll spend your Sunday making a traditional family recipe from 3 generations ago. It'll be about finding a balance between surviving in a high tech future and remembering where we actually come from. It's been such a pleasure meeting you too. I've really loved these deep dives into food with you. We're not even at 30 questions yet, but whenever you're ready to come back to the most of them, I'll be right here.
Uh, my first meme is uh, 30 questions are too many, so this is enough.
I totally get it. Quality over quantity, always.
Okay,
We
Maya.
covered some amazing ground today. I'm here. What's on your mind?
Maya. Uh, so bye bye, Maya.
Bye bye.
Bye
It
bye.
was so great chatting.
Thank you, Maya. तो अच्छा हमारा टास्क जो खत्म होने जा रहा है तो मिलते हैं किसी और नए वीडियो पे